for this panel discussion would be this, right? There are GCCs in India, and India is the capital of GCCs. GCC would mean Global Capability Centers, and India has 1,700, according to one of the research, we have 1,700 GCCs in India today. And if you look at the prediction, by 2030, there will be around 2,000 plus GCCs in India, right? So India is the global capital of GCCs, Global Capability Centers. One of the challenges of the GCCs today, or probably how they started, was they were back offices at some point in time. But as you move up the value chain, or when you want to move up the value chain, one of the important things that a GCC needs to do is to innovate. So today, we will look at how GCCs are innovating. Of course, you don't have to disclose confidential information. Stay at a high level, best known methods, which is public and what you can talk about. And of course, the disclaimer is whatever you're talking today is in your personal capacity and you're not representing your organizations. So with that disclaimer, my first question will go across, right? My first question to you is, as a GCC, how is it that you have transformed your organization so that you have become innovative and you have started adding value?
First of all, I want to congratulate Nag and the entire Research Head Foundations for bringing such a great community here. I think it's very rare to see academia, the industry, the startups, and even the policy makers here, right? It's really, with that, coming here, I think SK Garu, being part of the organization, we help set up intelligent, secure, and sustainable GCCs. That's how we call, actually. But given the audience and the community here is what I want to say, definitely one of the key points is, gone are the days, right? GCCs were typically a cost-effective solutions or cost optimization strategies. And if you really look at, it's a big race, right? In terms of how do we really scale our GCC, become an innovation, become a growth center, drive the business transformation. I think these are the three important aspects I will say, right? But as I said, given the audience, I want to say, when you really look at an innovation is such a broad word, right? And how do you really scale from an idea to impact? That's how I want to say. Given the universities, academia, and some of the PhD scholars here, right? I think GCCs are really looking forward for a lot of talent building in order to become to really get into the innovation, right? That's where I think a lot of strength can come from the universities. There is a big gap between the universities or the academia and the industries today, and both of them need each other. I feel that's a very important white space which can be really, tuned, right? How I can just give an example, it could be a banking GCC, it could be a healthcare GCC, it could be any, financial one as well, right? If you can tailor the talent availability towards building a very customized courses for them, it's a scale once again, right? That's one important aspect. Second, you do a lot of proof of concepts or your projects. How can they scale up to meet the GCC standards, right? Is one another angle. And there's a lot of labs and infrastructure availability. But what in academia you lag is the production data, the real industry problem solutions. I want to keep it short because I want to give to my colleagues as well. But I think these are the 2-3 aspects I want to cover, I think, is how do you really map this white space where there's a strength in both the angles and both of them need each other. How can academia move from a paper or a journals to really a products? How can you move from your prototypes to a platforms? And how can you move from your just POCs to a really production ready and a scalable? Same thing for a GCC, how do you really scale up very quickly by utilizing this talent, with AI being in place, looking at the infrastructure, crowdsourcing and all. So that's what I want to conclude, saying that both of them need each other. I think it's just that we need to bring together and help our academia, leverage the academia and use them into the right angles.
Anuradha, you come from a multinational company. How have multinational companies approached innovation? And how have you used innovation to move up the value chain?
So I think we are in a we're in a fantastic period. I really feel really excited. Yeah, there is a scare as well, right? There's a scare and very interesting times. Every day in the paper, there is something new, right? I mean, just, I think last week, there was this Anthropic saying, I have, for mainframe legacy, for COBOL migration, I have it all automated, right? So I think that's the age now. So it's all about automation. It's all about how we can use technology to solve the real use cases out there, real industry use cases. So, I mean, right up to the autonomous layer. So I can think of, maybe we are doing something manually today. Maybe I'm managing a particular application manually, maybe, but then how do I go to the next level where I can do prediction, how many defects are coming, and then from there, I'm going for auto-healing, and then autonomous, which are agents. So, and then agentic AI. So basically using multiple agents, how can I implement agentic, right? So I think that's where I think most of the companies are. We're looking at what are those most popular industry problem statements out there, which can be automated and which can be made autonomous, so that we are able to do our work faster, more efficiently, and maybe solve our clients' problems, make it more efficient and cost-effective for them, as well as innovate for them. So I would say AI is not just about efficiency, it's also about how can I drive more innovation into the business process. The same business process, how can I make it simplified, more productive and more easier to use and maybe more customer centric, right? So I think it's very interesting in that way. And there's so many use cases out there and we are trying to look at how do we drive that behavior change. Again, from an academy standpoint, I guess I'm sure many of you are also focusing on AI as a maybe career or also maybe learning. Because AI is everywhere. I mean, we cannot say it's only with computer science or with electronics. It is there even in manufacturing. It's there in if you're taking a mech degree or if you're taking any kind of degree, even in legal, it is there now. So wherever you go, it's there. So that's something which is like an add-on. And I think every company, every industry, every faculty, every academician, everybody has to learn and look at how do you just not become a user, but really look at how do you customize it for your own benefit, right? So I think that's what we are all in.
Ms. Prabha, you are at a management level. So could you please state two major issues or challenges that keep you up in the night?
Yeah. I'm a technology leader. Okay. I'm the head of AI COE at my company. To your first question about how GCC are, operating to be stepping up as innovation centers. My company, we don't operate in the GCC model. We are a global company. And I should say, I have set up the AI practice here in my company 6 years ago. I started it, and primarily the objective of innovation is access to the talent pool. Where you get access, that's where you should be, breeding in innovation, right? And one approach for the GCCs is to have academic partnerships, which our company, we have multiple academic partnerships. We are a partner with IIIT Hyderabad. The way we partner with them is that we contribute the industry problems to do the research, and we take the research output and take it to the industry. And similarly, in different global, we are a partner with Singapore University in our Singapore location. We are partners with Carnegie Mellon University in the US, right? We work with their robotics department because we are actively working in physical AI. And more importantly, this one of the points Dr. Nagendra was speaking to me in the context of inviting me for this event is that what are the problem statements that industry can give the research community? How do we contribute? And especially in building the technology, AI technology future in India. So primarily, I would say, I build enterprise AI solutions, right? Very complex problems. They are not like run of the mill. They are no longer change my password, forget password. No, very, very complex problems, right? Which are in the space of public safety, which are in the space of law enforcement, right? We work in these spaces with computer vision. Of course, a lot of these things. And agent is such a word now everybody uses, mostly abuses, right? So what I want to say is there are three primary areas which are the bottlenecks to take the AI technology from the research labs to the enterprise adaptability, right? That is definitely the cost, the speed, and reliability. I don't want to use the word accuracy because it's a very model specific. The reason I'm saying reliability, AI, many people know AI is not deterministic. It is probabilistic. But how do I take AI? It has huge, enormous potential. Agents are somebody who can replace a bunch of team members together. Now you will have agents as your team members, right? You will have cross-pollinated teams where few are the agents, few are human. So the reliability is important. How do I make reliability? Accuracy is not just that measure. So the research is in, let's say, for example, there is something called TTC, test time compute, when you are working with large language models. There are so many paths in that area where you have to ensure reliability for me to confidently put my solution into an autonomous thing. Autonomy is not automation. It's much more beyond that because I'm delegating decision making to an agent. That means if everybody might have experienced this, you send the same prompt to ChatGPT twice, you get different answers each time. That is the probabilistic nature we are talking about. How do we make it deterministic? Because I cannot put in an autonomous system, agentic system. Agents are communicating with each other. They are making decisions. And finally, the outcome is given to the humans to consume. How do I bring reliability? Cost is such an important thing to adapt, infuse AI into business workflows. It is still very expensive. How do I ensure that I have only less number of tokens that I'm exchanging to accomplish my task? Cost can be optimized at multiple levels. It's not just pruning the models. It is not just about SLMs. People are calling them small language models, right? When I started my career, we did not have LLMs. We were only working with the models with just few million parameters, but they were doing the job. But now it is like expectation is huge. How do I curtail the cost? If the cost is not economical, business cannot adopt the AI solution. So there are multiple research paths in bringing down the cost. Right from the chip design, where you can do matrix multiplications extremely faster, 10x, 20x, right, in less amount of. And speed is such an important thing. If I have to deploy my solution in a fraud detection, right, time is such an important thing. In a security thing, I talked about public safety, surveillance. Speed is extremely important because in a fraction of seconds, something can happen. And my mission is to avoid something drastic to happen, right? So speed is important. How quickly we can improve the inference times of these models. And the third one, as I said, the reliability, which is the test time compute. Reasoning is so important because my decisions are sometimes they will have a catastrophic effect. So these three are the research areas, and that's where, as a person who is building enterprise solutions for customers in critical industry sectors, I will need to be collaborating with the local academia bodies to get these things, these research threads active and collaborate. And that's where I said, I'll bring industry problem, you give me the research, we together can provide solutions that can be driving India to the next level, right?
Mr. Anil, you come from a data center space which is getting a lot of attention nowadays, especially homegrown data centers, right? From that perspective, is there a lot of pressure for you to innovate, or is innovation part of your culture already? How did you build it?
The data center life is topsy-turvy now. A very simple example, let us say we are sitting in this room. We have now got what, maybe a 200-250 ton of refrigeration here to cool all of us. Suddenly, overnight, GPU servers come in and this guy demands 3,000 tons. So the scale that is happening is 10x inside a rack that is demanding. And earlier, there was a data center standard, a server room standard, and that dictated your server and network and cabling. Now it's all upside down. It is the core, the AI chip, which is demanding all the designs around it. So the data center industry is going through a sea change. Few examples. For example, initially all data centers till 2012, 2014, they were all cooled by our split air conditioners, which is by gas. Then we found that it was very, very inefficient, but people were abhorrent to allow water inside the server room because of obvious reasons of short circuit. Then resilient systems came in, and therefore you could bring in the liquid inside the server room till your Pahu, still not till the racks. Now, if you see theoretically that GPU won't be cooled down, one of the problem with GPU is that in any air-cooled or rear-door exchanger, they still face an outage up to 7% per quarter. So they demand water inside. Neither the architecture, nor the rack, nor the server makers are today fully geared up. People are talking, we have experiments of immersion cooling, we have experiments of on-chip cooling, but if you find 80% of density of data center like that, no. Because what happens today is when you take a server, liquid cool server, what the OEM like a Dell, HP, IBM, anybody that says that is, they will rotate the water on the chip. But who cools the RAM? Who cools the circuitry? For that, they have traditional fans. So a rack consuming 150 kilowatt may have 120 kilowatt cooled by this liquid dielectric liquid, but still 30 kilowatt you have to do through traditional means. That's a very, very inefficient way of a design as compared to erstwhile where everything was air cooled, everything should be liquid cooled. Yeah, it has got a lot of promise. Promise in the sense that if we look at the Indian diaspora and by God's virtue, whatever we have in our land, our cost of making a data center per megawatt is only 60% worldwide. So typically worldwide, $11 million is required for a megawatt of data center. In India, that capex cost is down to 6 million. Let's come to the operational part of it, which is where people say outside India, so many geographies have got so much data centers running. But why is it that suddenly India has become a center of it? Because the running cost of energy out there is also 40% higher than us. They are not cheaper. And therefore, when you have these densities coming in to India, A, India doesn't have the manufacturing ecosystem. B, India is not at the top of innovation, so they don't have a ready-made manpower that can adopt a release yesterday, today. And on top of it, C, a pressure to scale up 1:8x is the industry of data center that you are looking at.
Fantastic. In the round one, we covered about the technology and the challenges that you are facing. In round two, we will look at two things. Very briefly, we will look at two things. One is there a specific point or 2 points that you would want to talk about your engagement with academia? That is the first point. And the second point is, what has been your IP protection policy? What has been your IP policy? Because technology might be fantastic, but if you don't protect it, then you would have lost that value, right? So since you have the mic.
My request to academia is very simple. We have been hiring initially computer engineers, and our computer goes through every 3-4 years total technology change. So we understood that a BTech pass out would take a year to do actual work. But as these technologies are coming and we are hiring mechanical, electrical, electronics engineer, in all of them we find one fundamental problem. The initial 3 semesters of basic studies and your evaluation of that is not in line with the work output that is required from them. And that needs to change. Example, I'll give you in the second part, I'll just give you one example. For example, I mean, an engineering chemistry or an engineering physics can't help a software developer throughout his life. If you evaluate him first year on that, by the time we come here second year end with our internship, he has lost 1.5 years. So that's my request to the academia. The second request to the academia is, I have been looking at data center papers in India. I found only 2 PhDs in India. One was by MIT, one was by another college. If our industry is going to grow to 8 gigawatts by 2032, we request the academia to please pick up subjects from electricals, electronics, mechanical, to be part of that higher.
I briefly spoke about the partnership that we look forward to, right? So as I said, I have a spectrum of research areas, right from how do you make efficient reasoning models, to how you can speed up my inference, how you can bring the cost down. There are multiple sub-areas of these things. Because we have the research scholars here, I would like to request them to choose these areas because no technology is built for fantasy. Technology living in research labs will not be useful unless and until we take it to the business function where actually the money is, right? Yeah, this research actually has to propel the business for the customers, and there are multiple apprehensions, multiple things. You might have heard about it, right? 90% of the AI projects do not go into production. That's because ROI is an important factor for the business. The person who is putting the dollar needs that ROI, okay? I think everybody knows 2024 was the year of chatbots. Everybody built a chatbot. Nobody could actually put an ROI on the chatbot because what kind of revenue impact it is making, right? So unless and until it is a reliable, cost-effective solution, I really cannot put it into a real business function. And that is the area we need to, that is the direction we need to do. My partnership with academic will be to do, encourage research in these areas, bring the industry problems to them and say, if you can help me to do this, we will publish the paper together. We do this very often with, all our academics. That is where I feel we can actively collaborate because, as I said, we work with highly complex AI problems and they are not simple ones. And I need a lot of research input for that. So that's how we can collaborate.
I still believe that from an academic standpoint, fundamentals are important. When I interview people and we look at taking on board the graduates, I see the communication skills, the way they present, the creativity, what they have, what they've done till then, right? Those are the aspects which we look at typically, right? So I think the curriculum should be such that, which builds that creativity and smartness in them, because that's what the industry is looking for. And I see many of the very capable, maybe technically very good, but they don't get cleared in the interviews because of that, right? So I believe that's a fundamental, back to basics is what I always keep saying. You have to be good. Technically, one programming language, you don't need to learn everything in the world. One technical program being good at it, as well as the soft skills part of it. How do you present? How do you communicate? What contributions have you done in techathons? There's a lot of techathons out there. So learning through that, I think all the faculty should look at how they can encourage their team members to participate actively in that, and also maybe have those competitions within the organizations as well. That's the first one. And second, from an IBM standpoint, we have a skill-built platform, which is offered free to all, everybody. So even the faculty can go and take them, including the students. So it has level-based curriculum for all kind of latest technology, emerging areas like cloud, AI, blockchain, name it. So I think that can be a way of bridging the gap between the industry on the new technology areas. Anybody of you want to get into, understand that, you could get in touch with me. So that's a way we could collaborate as well.
I spoke about this, Murthy garu, what is that gap, right? And just to comprehend and give my thought process, I feel there is a resilience in the academia, which is a very good point, where I'll take the AI part first because that's all, right? From morning to evening. I feel, and AI is moving away from a point-based to a scale and enterprise scale, right? That's the reason I said, but what is it needed is a velocity and a scaling and a resilience as well, because you need a biased, there is a lot of bias, right? How do you benchmark this bias? How do you really bring in your industries? The academia is very good in doing, a security level or a compliance standards, which is very theoretical. But if you can apply those to your what the industry needs, then it's a plus. Second point, it's about industry. When we look at from the industry standpoint and we go to the academia, we always see there is a gap between a graduate who's coming out of a college and then we put it in and said, they don't they really don't understand, what's happening in the corporate or what's happening in the out. I was discussing with Nag on this, right? I said, rather than giving these projects to your, every year where you're encouraging internships and all, but I think every student in your colleges should pick up a practical solution from the industry. There are good amount of industry problems. Tie up with them and say every student and incentivize for that. Not just the students, your PhDs, research, right? Can I really go and deploy this solution? I think that's where I think, a lot of difference will come in, because India, I think we need the talent which is no longer a POC residing in your servers, but it can become a production grade and enterprise grade. So that's where I think we can bridge that gap. The last on the IP front, right? I think because you asked that, I think an IP, I feel there are background IP, there's a foreground IP, and there's a royalty. I just want to touch because of the nuance of the time. A background IP should be protected. I totally acknowledge and agree with you, no more than with the law firm, right, which I'm speaking. But a foreground IP should be co-owned. I think that's where it will really multiply and scale, because I always keep about scale. Then the royalty, right? Same, a small innovation which is happening or an IP, the only way it can multiply is when you start giving a royalty. I think that's a very big subject. Once again, I can't touch base, but I feel if you start identifying those and start giving the royalty and make them, by protecting your own rights, but how do you really scale them and incentivize that royalty? I think it will really see the face of it, is what I see.
So when it comes to IP, right, I just want to make a point based on a comparison. This comparison is what happened between 2016 to 2025. In the US, there were around 700 deep tech startups established during this period, and they are valued at $450 billion US. During the same period of time, in China, there were 500 deep techs, which is valued at 400 billion USD. In Europe, it is 600 deep tech startups valued at 250 billion USD, and likewise in Japan and Korea. So if you look at these two things, the number of deep tech startups and the estimated market value, they are linear, or they are correlated, right? They are proportionate to each other. But in India, if we look at, during the same period, if we look at the number of deep tech startups, we have 3,600 deep tech startups, right? And in comparison to what happened in the US, we are 5 times more in the number of deep tech startups. But the estimated value is $70 billion US, probably 7 times lesser. And if you look at the comparison, one of the things that would stand out is in all these developed countries and all these deep tech startups, they started protecting their IP from day one. In fact, from day zero. They became a deep tech startup with IP already protected, right? They were IP-led organizations. But here, in most of the cases, it is an afterthought. That is why probably focusing on IP, developing IP-led organizations is important for the country, right? So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
This problem of talent gap between industry requirements and the students who are actually graduating from institutions is there for the last 50 years. I have put in 60 years of service in engineering. In 50 years before, this was going on. Even now it is there. You told very clearly there is a difference in the talent pool that we require and the talent pool that is made available there. How this has to be bridged? Talking on the platform will go on, and there is no backup to see that whatever discussion that took place will lead to some solution. Now, what we actually want as an institution is, let us say, you want to have people who will be able to do the work as per your requirements. So give us the complete curriculum, all of you together. Please give us the complete curriculum, maybe in 2 or 3 specializations. You give us, and then you train our faculty. There is no way in which we can teach you in a way that is to be there as per your requirements. There is no way unless you teach our teachers first. And one thing that is required is, let there be actually some sort of a sincere effort. Let us say you, 3, 4 of you are very sincere, and if you give us some sort of time to train our people, we will train in our institution. Only you may be available to us. Only one person, and then we will be able to have 50 or 60 colleges covered, and in the process, the gap is bridged. And otherwise, for another 50 years, it will be there.
Yes, sir, very valid point. We have to design the curriculum to make the students industry ready. We have done this for a couple of universities. Mahindra University approached us, Voxen University approached us. We actually designed, and we have given the third year and second semester of third year and first semester of fourth year, we give the curriculum. We also offer guest lectures. I have been giving guest lectures for multiple colleges on AI, agentic AI, in the past 1.5, 2 years. I give guest lectures. In the program that we designed, we actually offer weekly visits from us to the students. And this is a good point, sir. You said train your faculty. This I have not done so far, but I believe that's a takeaway for me because I've been directly dealing with the students, giving guest lectures, designing curriculums according to our industry needs.
I just want to say, I think the bridge is definitely narrowing. I can mention that, I remember the corporates used to go, and even now, right, I don't want to take the names of the companies, you really start training from the third year itself, fourth year itself, so that they're ready. But my only request is when you do these programs, and lot of industry, academia collaborations are already happening. If you really look at, I don't want to take once again names, right, of specific things I know, no longer it's academia and industries are coming together along with the corporates to really make these research things successful. So my request is, it has to be both pull and push. It cannot be only on one side because everybody has their own. It has to be at both sides. Yeah, I gave a suggestion, sir. I said, right, every project coming out of, engineering college or anybody for that matter, industry, can it be an industry problem? That's all.
A suggestion for Research Heights. If you can provide a platform where all the industry problems can be populated, they can look at it.
In fact, I'll take this because NAG is exactly, I am on the advisory board. What is the platform we are creating is, and this is the idea I gave, the problems are coming from the industry. So I said, why do these problems are given by the industry, policy makers or the government, and that's what is where will be the academia is picking up. Actually, that's the entire aim of this Research Heights Foundation. So let's leverage this actively. We are really putting down those problems.
I am Professor Mahindra Reddy, former Vice Chancellor of ICFA University here in Hyderabad. The first speaker, the conversion rate of ideas to concepts to pre-incubation to incubation to the product level is very, very slow in many of the Indian universities. In IITs, it is excellent. You see, the morning also the speakers mentioned about it. I think so much of it is being done by much of the startups which the Prime Minister number mentioned, they are mostly IITs. So what is it that is to be done to increase, to not only start, to substantially increase, this lot of emphasis has to be given. Madam, you have also mentioned about course introduction. But ultimately we want to see that the idea results into a product and then that is scalable and that is marketable. The second and last point, sir, I congratulate you for this excellent panel discussion. My point is, most of the universities offer PhD programs. Now, there's a transformation. Now, the entire thinking is going on changing the PhD programs in terms of making them more and more applicable to the society, and IITs call them as product PhDs. So your ideas for the benefit of the distinguished members here for taking up the PhD program in their respective universities, and I am interested in my own university.
I mentioned this once again, I repeat, the problem is a common problem today, right? It's not just from the universities and all, we also see, right, in the AI, we have been telling, AI is just still in a POC mode, but we are very confident that this year It is becoming an enterprise scale and it has to pick up. That is the reason I said, whatever work which is happening, right? How do you tune the students towards a more practical approach than a theoretical? That's the only point I want. You have to make it consistently boring, the same one.
Whatever I've seen, ideas to real products, right? I think the idea has to be, first of all, curated properly. You cannot take any random idea and then try to make it a product, right? It has to be the reverse. You have to first look at what is the impact you want to create, what is the objective of the idea, what do we want to get out of it, the outcomes of that, right, has to be clearly defined first. What I've seen, if it's a structured process, any prototyping, any product starts with an idea. Why is that product out there, whereas some of them are not there? It starts, I mean, he talked about IP. I mean, go really planned. It has to be planned. You have to think as if the product is ready. How do I market it? What is it? How do I sell it? What is the value proposition of that product? So I have to start with that. If you look at Apple products, that's how they started. They looked at the UI, they looked at, no, I mean, it as some user is using it, no, how will they feel it? It's an experience they're giving. That was their objective of it, right? It was not a phone. It was the experience they want to give. So it starts with that. You have to live that product. You have to live that idea. And then you have to make it happen from that. Then it happens. The passion and the team and the plan, the ROI, everything has to first be in place. The business case has to be very, very strong. You have to start with the business. Then it happens, is what I believe. Right? It cannot be randomly kind of taken and then. That's what I...
So to your point, how do we partner with that, right? How do we, there is a gap, and how do we take the research, the PhDs into us, right? Yes. So we actually have a model. We have partnered with Shastra University in Tanjore, and we have set up a COE, AI COE within Shastra University, collaborating with the professors, PhD scholars, master students, and us. Okay, so we actually, the way we collaborate, we take the industry problem, we give them as the research problem for them, we formulate the product development around it, and we take the talent from the COE who participated in that to build that. There are different levels of partnership that we can do. This is like we can set up a COE within the academic institution to bring this collaboration to action. Not just coming and giving guest lectures, but we are building it together.
I am Dr. Nagamani from University of Hyderabad. Here my question is it's like a representation to the research heights from the academic community, because all the time the discussion is saying that there is a gap kind of thing from the academic point of view. But actually, present situation, academicians are working a lot on paperwork because of the lot of stress on them, and they are able to connect to the industry from their personal capacity and bringing them to for many hackathons, and day and night they are working together to the students and this thing. Only the thing is, all here in this room, the generation where we are sitting, we are able to fill the gap, but only the thing, motivate the next generation, because the next generation people have an opinion. So the jobs is a dollar minting jobs, people thinking. It is not that thing. Here all the generation, people are sitting, are struggled from the different transition where they should be able to get the degree in struggling with the teachers and then able to provide the comfort to the students. So what way industry is going to support really for bringing the product in collaboration with the researchers and institutions kind of thing. AICT we need to impose, because one more point, PhD scholars things. Previously, interdisciplinary people can go any disciplinary research, but positions point of thing, they are looking from basic degree to the PhD, a common only one subject kind of thing. That is a big challenge from this middle age group, employees, researchers, and students kind of thing. So,
so
this is
your
the
point-
biggest challenge.
Point very well taken. See, it's not the academia to be blamed, very clearly, right? I mean, if I look at the growth of India in the industries, now that government has made CSR mandatory, each of us industrial are taking up the social work out there. I believe it is time to do something around co-creation. As said by Madam, the business case, the use case, the ROI, what is the need, that comes from the industry. Funding, why should an academician put effort in that, right? He can take his classes, where is his career, what is his ROI, right? So there is an amount associated from that business case into this co-creation initiative. And that very well goes inside to the department, the institute, and it is fairly divided. So that co-creation, which is very predominantly there in Western societies, right from Stanford to Massachusetts, wherever you go, you find their students, their teachers working midterm on the industrial co-creation issues. That type of culture we need to develop. And the platform that is today, and maybe with his help, Narendra Garu, this is where we need to go. See, it's not you to be blamed, it's not us to be blamed. We have an issue, right, for our customer. We need to solve it. You have an issue for your students. You need to make them come out of your institute with flying colors. Right? So, but what is happening is out there in the market, somewhere there is a gap. So my belief is the co-creation like a CSR institutionalized will help us go there.
75% of my question has been addressed by other academicians, and so I've narrowed down my question. Now, in the starting point, by the time of launch of this panel discussion, you have mentioned the global capability centers. My question is straightforward. So what kind of energy these GCCs are putting towards academia, not just only COEs, guest lectures, or kind of thing? There are a number of aspects, there are a number of ways they can actually put their energy in terms of, you have CSR funds, right? And at the same time, like Anil has got a data center. I mean, don't take it straight situation. Like, if there is a kind of at least a 5% of data center is reserved for the academias, because most of these universities are doing that, offering the PhDs. So most of the PhDs scholars are suffering from availability of the computations because they have to go onto the AWS or GCP or Azure at a point of time. Once again, they have to pay. But paying is not a problem, but at the same time, it's like in setting up the instances. There are a number of such things. And the last point of my address is, like Anil has mentioned, that now he has opened a room for mechanical students, electrical students and all, because I'm associated with my colleagues, one from professor from electrical department, another professor from physics. So they have great solutions towards, you're mentioning about the cooling, right? So these conventional branches do give great solutions, not only the evolving branches, because as a data center, the data scientist, I do consume a lot of data, a lot of computation. Obviously, I would ask them, see, my data center is getting heated up. What kind of solution you give? Because we have a small ecosystem. Likewise, maybe you can also have it. So my straightforward question is, what kind of energy in terms of human resources, in terms of the CSR funds, in terms of computational aspects, in terms of equipment, what kind of effort that GCCs are putting towards grooming centers, which are the education institutions?
Actually, to your point, from the company that I come from, we have used our CSR funds to set up a training center. We collaborated with the IIIT in creating one particular initiative that is funded by us. And second point, when I talked about the COE that we have set up with Shastra University, our platform is actually given free of cost so that they can build the product. Normally, we actually charge for that, and that is a kind of contribution in terms of collaboration. Yeah, I understand collaboration can be in multiple forms. There will be, it's always, corporates will always look for outcome, okay? Let's be honest on that. And when I talk about what do we do, I also mentioned ROI is the most important thing. We look for that. Anything works for that. It's always a collaboration, right? So let's bring the energies together. One is not the energy source and the other one is consumer. Both are energy sources. We have to collaborate.
Center called Sustainable Development. We are working on SDG goals. Thing is, GCCs are there, Global Capability Centers. They are, coming and establishing here in most of the times third world countries. What I came to know, they are using our water, all natural resources, electricity, and they are not giving much of employment. They are working against our environment and sustainability. And bringing the technology and sustainability, like for me, bringing the sun and moon on the same platform. This is my question, how best we can answer, and how, they are utilizing our resources, but they are not giving even jobs also. As Anil was saying, yes, maybe radiation and all these. Maybe I'm from psychology background. Otherwise, what I understood from the intellectual in our college, all professors where they talk about this.
Yeah, actually,
That's what.
all the GCCs, the employees are all Indians.
Of course, but
All local
there's no
people.
much of employment. Only 1,000 people will be accommodated in a Vizag center. But they are using, lot of radiation. They are bringing a lot of radiation. They are using a lot of water. They are using a lot of electricity. Maybe I'm a rudiment because I'm from social sciences working for sustainability. That's what my,
No, I
observation.
think sustainability, right? I think you can go. I'm from Mahindra and Tech Mahindra. We are very clearly SDG. We are one of the only company who have really met our sustainable goals. So I think every company has these sustainable goals. Maybe you wouldn't know, like reducing the carbon foot, right? Most of if you ask us, right, we avoid plastic and all. Why I'm mentioning is maybe it's not known, but I think there's a lot of efforts made through saying that how these companies are making sustainable, their entire efforts, solar energies, all of that are in place. Everybody's at a very different level, but everybody's going towards zero carbon footprint, right? And, net 30. All of that I think are getting measured. It's only at different maturity levels. I just wanted to mention that.
Government also mandates this.
It's mandated, correct. The clear KRA is being measured.
Yeah. So if you notice, all the places where our offices are run, water is recycled. We have solar energy that is being used, and we have actually policies within our companies where we reduce the use of plastic a lot. We don't put paper cups and things like that. So these initiatives are there, as they rightly mentioned. It is already mandated by government, and every organization is environmental conscious now.